Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am here today with Dr. Kelly Pelzel and Dr. Beth Troutman, and we are going to discuss how you can support parent-child relationships through play during this time of COVID-19 that we're facing. Thank you so much for joining us today, Drs. Troutman and Pelzel. So we are going to get started with our first question. There's been a lot of changes with kids and parents and the routines that we're all adapting to right now. Do you have any tips for how to create new routines for your kids during this time?
Yeah, routines are a really important it gives us a nice rhythm across the day, across the week. And I think probably most of us, one way or the other, have kind of fallen into that rhythm as things have gone on. But things are there's been a lot of shifts here recently. So there's been the declaration of the governor that school buildings are closed for the year, and the weather's turning nice. And, it's been a while. So I think a lot of people are thinking about revising their routines. And as we do that, we want to think about first, starting with the very basics of making sure we have, bedtime and when we're going to wake up and when meal times and snack times are. But then, you get some flexibility in terms of being able to put a routine together. So there's some other pieces that are going to go into routines, like learning activities, like self-care activities and exercise, those kinds of things. But when those happen across the day, can be pretty flexible and really something that you can talk about with your child to see if they have preferences, and then see how those preferences work out for them and for your household as a schedule. And then, of course, you can also put in all those fun activities too, free time, choice times, activities to do together as a family, board games, that sort of thing. And as you're putting those things together, it's great to get input from your kids about what they want to do, or maybe they have like a list of activities for during those free times that they can choose from, just to kind of keep that in their mind, all those options that are available to them. And then the other thing I'd say about schedules is if you can make a little written schedule. Doesn't necessarily need to be for them, although if they do well, having a little visual like that. But I think all of us feel a little bit better to have a little visual laid out, even if it's a very basic schedule. And that way also, if something changes, something comes up and the schedule needs to change, you still have that constant there of the schedule, and that can be very comforting to kids, but really to adults as well.
Yeah. So we just talked about how you can get on the schedule, which is very helpful for kids and parents. But if some parents are worried about maybe sticking too much to the schedule, what would your suggestions be to be lenient with yourself and your kids during this time, as we know that there's a lot of adapting that's going on from both sides?
So, I think it's just important to remember that we're all going through a lot of changes, and the older we are, the more difficult it is to kind of roll with those punches and to do things differently. And so just to be able to give ourselves a little grace and to say that, if I didn't have a perfectly clean house before the pandemic, I'm probably not going to have one now. If I wasn't helping my child with algebra before the pandemic, this is probably not the time to take on becoming my child's algebra teacher. And I think if we can all do that for ourselves, it'll make it easier for our kids, and also to give them a little grace that if they don't learn to read perfectly in this year in first grade, they have a teacher who will help them catch up next year.
Yeah, I think that is great advice. And so now moving a little bit more into play, which is an option with that free time that they might have in their routine. How would you suggest that parents can really follow the lead of their child and support them during that playtime that they have?
So, I mean, for me, this is one of the most important things that parents can do during this time is to do a little bit of what we call child-led play. So I've been interested in kids who've experienced really stressful events for about 50 years now. And during that time, one of the things that I've really learned is the importance of what we call child-led play and helping kids to work through stressful events. And it used to be, when I first started studying this, I really thought that you had to be a professional to do this. You had to go to school for a lot of years and get a PhD in order to do child-led play. And it turns out that that's not the case, that a lot of people can do child-led play, and I think especially parents, it's such an important way of doing it. And basically what we mean by child-led play is just following the child's lead in the play, letting them decide what to play with, and then just following their lead. And there's a lot of different models for how to do this. The model that we teach the most here at the University of Iowa is where we teach parents to follow their child's lead using what we call pride skills. And so we thought we'd talk a little bit about the specifics of how to do that. The first one is, the P is for praise, or what we call labeled praise. So just saying things to children like, I like the way you took the Legos out of the box. I like the way you put the blue Lego on top of the red Lego, and not praising them for making it perfect or for doing something perfect, but just praising them for trying and for doing things that you would like to see more of, like playing quietly, for example.
Yeah, so with that pride model, in the next couple letters in the acronym are R and I for reflections and imitations. Reflections are just a verbal imitation. So copying verbally what your child is saying. So if a child is saying, there's a truck, you might say back, yeah, there is a big truck. Or, ooh, that truck is going fast. It's something that acknowledges that you heard what they said, and that it's important. And if you want to have kind of a teaching moment without giving too much direction, you can just layer in a little bit more information. Not too much, but just a little bit more, like the color of what they're talking about, or some other kind of descriptor of what they're talking about as you echo it back. Imitation is really of their play ideas, but also of things like their gestures or their movements. So if you're doing exercise or dance as part of your daily routine, to be able to follow along with those movements that they make up and that they want to do. Also tone of voice. So if they're really excited and animated, you get excited and animated about something as well. And children, without direction toward them, they learn a lot just in terms of new words and actions by watching you. And a great way to get kids to watch you and to listen to what you're saying is for you to watch and listen to them. That's how you can get them engaged and interested in and seeing what you're doing.
And then we're ready for the D.
Yeah.
The D is describe. And that is where you just basically describe what you see the child doing. So you just say things like, you're picking up Mr. Bunny. You're holding Mr. Bunny. You're making Mr. Bunny dance. And it sounds really goofy to parents to do that kind of play-by-play description of what their child is doing, but especially little kids just eat it up. Remember one child who, once their parents started doing that, would say, "What am I doing now?" Because it was like this, being able to have some feedback of what they were actually doing gave them a chance to sort of to think about it. And then the last E is what we call enjoyment. So just the idea that there's no right or wrong way to do things. And We know that one of the most important things in terms of healthy parent-child relationships is just for kids to know that their parents enjoy them. There's a lovely quote by an author whose name I've now forgotten, about letting your kids see your face light up when they walk in the room. Like not starting with, oh, you need to have your hair combed, you need to have this done, but just letting them see that how happy you are to see them and to be with them. You're writing on your paper. Oh, I like how neatly you're writing.
Great descriptions, another great praise for her.
Oh, you wrote hello. That is so cool that you know how to write hello. And I love the explanation, the exclamation point after the hello. That shows that you are really enjoying this. I did a hello and smiley face just like you.
Very cool. You imitated her.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that wonderful information with us today. We really appreciate it. There's a website here on this slide where we will be sharing more information. Thanks, everyone.
Take
Thank
care.
you.